Right now, you probably aren't thinking about your clothes. They're just there. A second skin you put on without noticing. But the real answer for why you're wearing them is far stranger than fashion, or modesty, or even weather. It starts with lice. Not a joke. Lice. For most of human history, your ancestors were naked, fully covered in hair, like every other primate, with skin built to handle sun and cold and rain directly. Then something changed. Your ancestors lost their body hair. And for a long stretch after that, they had nothing to replace it with. Bare skin, exposed to an Ice Age world. How did they survive? Scientists found the answer in an unlikely place, the genome of a parasite. Body lice can only live in clothing. They evolved specifically to cling to fabric, not skin or hair. So if you want to know when humans started wearing clothes, you don't dig for fabric. Fabric rots. It vanishes in a few centuries, let alone tens of thousands of years. Instead, you trace when body lice split off from head lice and became their own species. Geneticist Mark Stoneking led research using exactly this method, comparing the DNA of human lice populations to calculate a divergence date. His findings pointed to roughly 170,000 years ago. That's when your ancestors likely started wearing something, anything. Think about that number for a second. Modern humans, as a species, are around 300,000 years old. That means, for the first half of human existence, nobody was wearing anything at all. So what changed? The Ice Age changed. Around that time, the planet was sliding into a brutal glacial period. Temperatures in parts of Africa and Eurasia dropped hard enough that bare skin simply couldn't keep up. Archaeologist Ian Gilligan has spent years studying exactly this connection, and his research makes a compelling case that clothing wasn't invented for style. It was invented for survival, cold-driven, purely practical, and urgent. Humans without fur needed insulation, and insulation meant wrapping themselves in something, hides, furs, whatever could trap body heat against skin that could no longer do it alone. Here's the part that surprises most people. The earliest clothing wasn't sewn. It was draped, wrapped, tied with sinew or cord, the way you might wrap a towel around your shoulders. There was no needle yet, no thread, just skins pulled tight against the body, held there any way that worked. That changed too. Around 40,000 years ago, something new shows up in the archaeological record. Eyed needles. Small, carved slivers of bone or ivory with a tiny hole punched through one end. Suddenly, clothing wasn't just wrapped. It was constructed, fitted, layered. Archaeologist Olga Sofer studied impressions of ancient textiles preserved in fired clay at Ice Age sites in what is now the Czech Republic, and found evidence of woven fibers far more advanced than anyone expected. Twisted cords, netting, possibly even early basketry. This wasn't survival gear thrown together in desperation anymore. This was craft. And craft changes everything. Because once clothing became something you could shape, it stopped being just about heat. It became information. A hide wrapped a certain way could signal status. A specific fur could mark which group you belong to. Decorations started to appear, beads sewn into leather, ochre rubbed into hide, patterns that meant something to the people who wore them and the people who saw them. Clothing had quietly become a second language, one written in material instead of words. This is where the story gets stranger. Losing body hair and gaining clothing didn't just keep your ancestors warm. It rewired their entire relationship with the world. Fur-covered animals are stuck with one insulation setting, sewn into their skin for life. But a human with removable clothing could adapt to any climate on Earth. Wrap up for the Arctic, strip down for the equator, layer for a mountain pass. Clothing turned the human body from a single environment machine into something that could walk into nearly any biome on the planet and survive the first night. That's not a small thing. That might be one of the reasons your species spread further and faster than any other large mammal in history. But here's the twist most people never think about. Your body still hasn't caught up to any of this. Your skin is still built like it's naked. You still get goosebumps, a leftover reflex from ancestors whose hair used to stand up to trap warm air, even though you probably don't have enough hair left for that reflex to do anything at all. You still sweat as if you're regulating heat across bare skin exposed to open air, even under 3 layers of fabric. Your nervous system is running software designed for a body that clothing made obsolete over 100,000 years ago, and it never got the update. So when you shiver in an air-conditioned room, or feel a strange comfort wrapping yourself in a blanket, you're not being dramatic. You're running an ancient survival routine, one built by ancestors staring down an ice age with nothing but hide and sinew between them and the cold. And it goes deeper than temperature. Psychologists have studied something called enclothed cognition, the idea that what you wear doesn't just protect you, it changes how you think and perform. Put someone in a lab coat and tell them it belongs to a doctor, and their attention to detail measurably improves. Tell another group the same coat belongs to a painter, and the effect disappears. The fabric didn't change, the meaning did. That's the same mechanism your Ice Age ancestors were tapping into when they decorated hides with beads and ochre. Clothing was never just insulation. It was identity, worn on the outside so the world, and maybe even your own mind, could read it. Which brings you back to right now. Think about the clothes you put on this morning without thinking twice. The hoodie you reach for when you want to disappear into a crowd. The outfit you deliberately chose before walking into a room where you needed to feel powerful. None of that is new behavior. None of it is really about fashion. You are doing with cotton and polyester exactly what your ancestors did with mammoth hide and sinew 170,000 years ago, wrapping meaning around a body that lost its fur and never stopped needing something to say who it is. You probably aren't thinking about your clothes right now, but maybe you should be, because every time you get dressed, you're not just getting ready for the day. You're repeating the oldest technology your species ever invented. One stitch, one wrap, one choice at a time.